It's literally just Herald of Plague. Alright, fine. I'll probably owe you some context. You see, I was spurred into making this after I watched these two videos from Kaltorak, where he featured the following Herald chaining interaction. But why make this video then? Because the more I watched, the more I realized that Kaltorak was not aware of how this interaction was working. From things like him not being sure if it was self-proliferating, to thinking that it can be done without Herald of Plague, or that armor explosion plus corrosion is necessary for this interaction. Let me show you why these are false by breaking down how Herald of Plague works. Herald of Plague states that killing a poisoned enemy spreads its poison to other nearby enemies. Now the keyword spread does a lot of heavy lifting here, so let's analyze. The description of the spread keyword reads as follows. Spreading an ailment inflicts a new, matching ailment on another target from the same source. The new ailment can potentially spread further, but never back to the same target twice. What this actually means is that when you spread poison, this poison is copied with the same damage, same duration, and same effects. So, for example, if we have Alice and Bob is inflicted with a poison that does 100 damage, breaks armor, and lasts 8 seconds, he dies after 4 seconds, Alice will then get inflicted with the same poison that does 100 damage, breaks armor, and lasts 8 seconds. Emphasis on it being 8 seconds, not 4 seconds. Sounds easy, so what's the catch? Well, your poison actually needs to kill the enemy, which means that in order to scale our Herald of Plague, all we have to do is make sure that our initial poison is as strong as possible. So how do we do that? Well, there are two methods. Make the poison deal more damage, or make the poison trigger something else that deals more damage. If you want to make the poison itself deal more damage, you have two avenues. Avenue number one is to make your skill deal as much physical or chaos damage as possible, since these are the damage types poison magnitude scales off of. One way to do this is by picking the right skill. For example, a level 20 Leap Slam will inflict poison as roughly 3 times stronger than a level 20 Wind Dancer. But you can also do this through support gems that increase your damage, things like Close Combat, Heft, and Long Shot. But I must warn you to not use Brutality, since it will prevent your poison from doing damage. Avenue number two is to scale your poison magnitude directly, either through your passive tree, through a support gem like Deadly Poison, by using skills that have increased poison magnitude, or with unique armor pieces. If you want to make your poison trigger something else, corrosion plus armor explosion is your only real option. I think that for builds not super spec'd into poison magnitude, or that have low base damage abilities, corrosion plus armor explosion is often your best bet. If you want a nerdy explanation as to why, keep watching. As for everyone else, skip to this timestamp. Alright, so when you inflict a poison, you take 20% of your pre-mitigation damage of your hit and deal it over 2 seconds as a damage over time. So, with something like Wind Dancer, you're taking maybe somewhere between 20 to 60% of your weapon's damage over 2 seconds. Here comes Armor Explosion, and it lets you deal 100% of your weapon's damage twice, and it is buffed by attack damage. Why twice? Well, let's think about the following scenario. Two enemies are sitting side by side. Enemy 1 is poisoned, his armor breaks, he triggers Armor Explosion, and this damages enemy 2, and then he dies, and now he spreads his poison to enemy 2. Enemy 2 now also has his armor broken and triggers Armor Explosion. So you see in this toy example, it's pretty clear to see that Armor Explosion can hit an enemy twice. Alright, well, how often does this actually happen? Well, assuming you have 65% increased area of effect allocated, then this will happen all the time. This is because Armor Explosion and Herald of Plague will have the same radius. Alright, so with the nerdy part done, you might wonder how good Herald of Plague is in practice. Well, for me, I see two glaring issues. Issue number one is that Herald of Plague radius cannot be extended past 2.2 meters, and realistically, you're probably capped at 1.8. The reason for this is that area of effect nodes do not seem to scale the radius of spreading. Because of this, the chain can often feel inconsistent due to a number of factors, things like monster pack density, terrain geometry, and hitbox sizes. Issue number two, most characters/builds that can use this effectively have already better chaining setups. Things like Lightning Spear, Cast on Freeze Voltaic Mark, Trample Toe, and my Herald of Ice chaining tech, which is what you've been seeing in the background. If you're interested in that, you can learn more about it in these two videos that I made. That said, I also don't think it's without merit. I think its biggest strength is definitely the fact that it's both easy to set up and extremely SSF friendly. Something else I didn't cover in this video is that it is possible to chain without Herald of Plague by using the Bursting Plague support gem. However, in practice, it's not really feasible. The setup would be to socket in Bursting Plague plus Envenom, which allows Bursting Plague's physical damage to poison, which is something you can see in this clip. Now, why wouldn't this work in practice? Well, let's say your initial poison hit did 100% of an enemy's life in 2 seconds. When Bursting Plague pops, it'll only inflict a poison that deals 4% of that enemy's life in 2 seconds. And then next pop will deal 1% of that enemy's life in 2 seconds. See the issue? Now, it is possible by scaling attack and poison magnitude to prevent this fizzle, but unfortunately, I think that this interaction will always be painfully slow. Well, that's all, Exiles. Until next time.